in Hollywood. We made it another week. Let's pick a filter. Is that too much? Is that too much? Maybe that's not too much. Yikes, why do all these filters look so strange? In any case, 8mm I know is a no. Anyway, maybe it's okay. In any case, thank you for joining me. You know, it's been a long, challenging work week. I'm very lucky to have all the work that I have. I had my writing class earlier today, of course, and it was fantastic. I really got very deeply into a story that I've been writing for a while that I think I'm going to make into a horror short. Can anyone tell me why YouTube Shorts makes music available for your shorts that then you get copyright claimed on from Belarus, Russia? Does anyone care what music is licensed in Belarus, Russia? I mean, if the music is not to be used, why is it available? I'm not sure. I like the music. I don't, I don't think that shorts are monetized, at least not for me. Oh, hey, Coops, what's up? Look, we're doing makeup. Yay! This is a really cute little palette. Look how artsy this is. It's from the Lip Bar, which I believe is a Black-owned brand. It's a vegan and cruelty-free product that is a 4-in-1 multi-finish face palette that takes the grunt and guesswork out of achieving your signature look. Oh, thanks, Coops. Woo! Curated based on complexion, you'll find a face powder, contour powder, highlighter, and blush to give you your complete face in minutes. And so I did use this before my class just so I wouldn't look completely ugly on Zoom. I wonder if you can kind of see what's on my face, because I put on some Winky Lux concealer, and then I put on one of these, like, I forget what it is. I think it's a Maybelline, some kind of go green kind of lip color. And it's funny because no matter what the pictures of the shade look like, whatever, they might look brown or they have names like sandalwood, they're all pink. They're all pink and coral and red and very traditional. I feel like you need to go, no matter what your complexion is, I think you need to go to Black-owned brands to get some lipstick tones that are not pink and red, and that aren't matte gray and matte mauve and those things that make people's lips look dry and wrinkled and like a butthole. You know? Nobody wants to look like they have a butthole for a mouth. Or at least I don't. But Mented, that you can grab at some Targets, Mented has a whole series of beautiful kind of brown, like kind of shades that are muted nudes for deeper skin tones. I'm not the deepest skin tone, but these lip colors, the lip liners, all of it, the glosses, have me looking very aspirational at work, and I have to confess that people are copying my steez. And it's great. I mean, again, if you don't go to a Black-owned brand for a brown lipstick, you're going to end up with something that's brown, but that looks more kind of like a deep copper than like a true brown. But brown is so arresting because people aren't used to seeing it. And when I say people, I mean men. So if you want to like look sharp and interesting, I'm really loving brown. So anyway, got into this palette. I did you not see the video? I did a whole thing for you. You didn't come to the live, but if you watch, the thumbnail shows me wearing black lipstick. So I'll do it again, but right now we're getting into this Lip Bar, right? Lip Bar. The logic of this palette. Now there are different shades of this palette, and I have a few. This is the one called Stuntin'. This is, I think, the lightest one that I have. So the face shade is Young Stunna. The blush shade is Bling Bling. The highlight is So Icy, right? Yes. And then the other shade, Contour, the contour shade is Flossin'. And I was wearing this. It didn't look crazy. I didn't put on a ton of complexion product, but you know, that's because I was in a rush. But I really like how kind of fly this packaging is, because it kind of has an Art Deco, kind of like one of those old elevators that have an attendant in them, or like in France. Do you know what I'm talking about? It looks very special. And you know, I was surprised to run across these particular products at Marshall's, but I have to confess, you know, from Thread Beauty to Lip Bar to Mented, I've never purchased any like fashion fare for myself. I did get my little fingers into some Danessa Myricks. I forget the name of the product, but I know what shade I am. I just am not prepared to spend that kind of dough on makeup quite yet. But as you know from my shorts, I'm doing candy reviews. Is that what you're wearing? I am wearing it. I actually put this product on for my writing class along with some Winky Lux concealer, but I figured I'd get on here and just vibe with you and do a little bit more makeup. You know, I'm trying to get serious and consistent about doing, you know, my social media. Cooper knows from talking to me. I did get the Sigma brush. I really love how well engineered Sigma brushes are. Look at the point of this. It is a triangle, right? With some nice sharp edges for contour and getting into the corners of the face. It is an Edge Precision brush, number P87, and I am delighted by every Sigma brush I've ever gotten. And I also have it's like a silicone pad that you use to wash your brushes. I'm impressed by the functionality. This brush says function, precisely apply and blend concealer. Unique features, small, steeply angled, triangular brush head. It is unique. Recommended use, reach corners and crevices. Crevices, yes. With the angled edge to press and blend concealer onto the skin. Coverage, medium or to full. Wash before use, recommended. Sigma Beauty. I believe Sigma Beauty may have been sold, and now the creators and the designers or engineers are doing something else. I feel like they have another brand name that they're working under. But in any case, do we actually have concealer with us? That is the question. But yeah, it's been an amazing week at work. You know, I was witness to people at work asking other people out. I was, you know, being a supportive little wing person for that. But, you know, as you can imagine, adults trapped at work most days will have romantic and tender feelings. I just personally feel like it's risky to do that at work, because in as much as people may want, shall we call it, romantic attention, if not, you know, other kinds of attention, they may not really be willing to close the deal, right? And if you extend yourself, which is what I saw, you extend yourself and say, hey, I like you, you know, we should go out, and the other person curves you all the way around in front of people, I think it's insulting, and I think it can't not affect your relationship, even if you're a nice person, because you wouldn't have done it if the person wasn't, like, shall we say, throwing it at you. But people are strange, especially in Hollywood. You know, people get a lot of work done, both genders. They're not shy about talking about it. They don't judge people for having done that as well, which is so interesting. But, you know, why would you keep signaling to grown people that you're interested if you're not actually interested, right? So this is a L'Oreal Visible Lift CC Concealer, multi-action in the color Fair. We're just gonna put another dot or two here in the inner corner of the eyes to make sure that, ooh, that's super bright, to make sure that we're as highlight as we could possibly be. Uh-oh. One of our lights has failed. Oh no. Thankfully, you know, we don't buy the most expensive lights. I have to admit that. And you know, just because you're wanting to kind of get your feet wet in the whole game, but at the same time, you don't want to have things that don't serve you. So now look at me. I've lost a light. How can I go on? Well, I'll have to go on in any case. But they do say let concealer dry down a bit before you get... Let me try this one. Well, I guess that does a little something. If I aim it at the wall, maybe I'll get some bounce light. But, you know, we're doing what we can. And maybe that's the lesson of, you know, America and, you know, being entrepreneurial with your social media in whatever sense. So just getting this into the highlight places, the places that we would like to jump forward. Nasolabial fold, this very weak chin that Mother Nature has gifted me with. This area of the jaw, just to make the contour that we did earlier with that palette pop, right? Get a little on the brow bone. I don't think we even primed the lid, so maybe we'll get a little of this on there. But as I was saying, before my lights failed me, I am interested in, you know, kind of decluttering and using up my stash, right? All kinds of videos all over YouTube and TikTok about how you can use highlighter to lift the face, right? And already, right, we also have this recycled, this is actually a kind of ceramic jar from one of my favorite brands of yogurt, La Fermière. This yogurt is so fancy, I really can't tell you where to buy it in store. I get it at work, but it comes in these either clear or blue, or this is like a deep brown jar that you can hold on to, and I just put water in it just so I can get my little brushy brush damp, and then shake that off, and then use this. Let's just start with the very tip of the brush to kind of start tapping that in and blending it. But I, you know, waste not, want not. You never want to not have the things you need, but you don't want to just get rid of things. You know, there's a whole conversation about capsule wardrobe and basic makeup collection and all that kind of stuff, where you do wonder, is this driving more consumption? I have seen videos by people in the Netherlands and in France kind of talking about having just very pared down makeup collections, just basics that you need. And I feel like I am in a place in my makeup journey where I'm just looking for the very best and simplest products that will help me achieve what I am trying to achieve, which is what? Being camera ready, right? Now this concealer, it looked super liquidy. It looked like something that wasn't going to be all that much coverage, but I'm nicely surprised. The undertone is a bit pink and a little bit pale for me, but you know, that's the challenge of makeup artistry. Whatever you have in your kit, whatever ended up in your makeup kit that you're taking to work, you got to work with it. You got to make it look right, right? You have to use a gentle hand. Sometimes you're building over a basic, what do you call it, complexion that you built at home. Get to work, let wardrobe dress you, and then put on your makeup so you're not smearing it all over your face. In soap opera, I've talked about this many times, they have it's like a mesh sack that you put over your face and you zip it, and it has structure to keep it sitting out from your face when you have to put your wardrobe. Sometimes on soap opera you have to do a bunch of different days, right? Even within the same episode, you change your costume because it's supposed to represent the next day, you know, before, after, after the kidnapping, before or after, or in a court case that you're going back to that court day after day for surprise testimony. Let's use the face of the brush since we're doing some blending. And again, we're using this with concealer. What it really did well was keep the highlighting concealer on my nose right in the line where I wanted it. And if there's an experiment. Now, I don't know why my live is messing up. Could it be that someone's calling me on the phone? I will tell you. You know, I'm trying to stay in the friend zone with a lot of these characters, you know, basically from work. And, you know, someone was very helpful to me with my, shall we say, work equipment. And, you know, just, you know, overall good person to talk to, etc. But, you know, the usual flow when you meet people, if they're interested in you, they're going to ask you out, which he did not. He did call me from home, and then there was a young baby crying, and this was like 10 o'clock, 10:30 at night, and then he told me that, oh, that's my grandchild, because my daughter lives with me and my grandchild. Now, this is possible, but 10:30 at night for a baby to be awake, and it wasn't like a baby crying like boo-hoo, it was a baby crying like, it sounded like daddy was home. Now, I know there's all kinds of different, you know, blended families and all of that, but add to that, I didn't hear from him or see him kind of at the kind of work we do together for weeks. He said he went on vacation. So, you know, again, there's a rhythm to things. If someone's interested in you, why would they get your number and then drop out of sight for weeks, causing, you know, if not confusion, then questions. But, you know, it's not that serious or that deep, but still. And then, you know, I certainly want to be able to keep the dialogue and keep the kind of work friendship going. So is this focusing on me, or is it focusing on our friend Mac Miller? I wonder if I should zoom in and then zoom back out. Hopefully that assisted with the focus. But do you see what I'm saying? Just using highlighter to refine and lift and jump forward the places that we want to jump forward. Now, we can dig more deeply into our lip bar palette. Now, we also have some other exciting products we were able to get at Walmart. A couple of Flawless in Real Life baked bronzers from Sharon C. Uoma Beauty. Such a strange product. I've only ever found it at Walmart and maybe a few things at Marshall's or TJ Maxx. Is this a high-end product, a low-end product, a drugstore product? It says London and Italy, made in Italy. The address, there's a Los Angeles address and a London address. Uoma Beauty, UOMA beauty.com. I gotta look into it, but you know, this one looks especially red. This one looks more promising, but I like the packaging. It's very Tower 28. But anyway, all of this to say, like, what's going on, right? Let me take the focus away from Mac Miller. But, you know, if you're interested in me, what's with the disappearing act? What's with the baby? And then on top of it, you know, now, you know, this person texted me and I was just yammering about, you know, whatever, shop talk, I'll put it like that. And then he's like, oh, let's meet to grab something to eat tomorrow, Sunday. I go to work 6:18 in the morning on Monday, so I'm not trying to hang out on a Sunday. What happened to Friday? What happened to Saturday night? Where are you? What are you doing? Did not call me to make an arrangement to hang out. And this is probably 4 to 6 weeks after we exchanged numbers. Needless to say, I haven't answered. I feel a little bit skeptical. Like something's going on, something that doesn't make a whole lot of sense, if you know what I'm saying. Here's a couple of brushes from our friend Jaclyn Hill. We see that Morphe is going bankrupt, right? This is the Jaclyn Hill JH33, which is a life too short not to own bomb brushes, says XO Jaclyn Hill. This is a universal blender brush. Then the other one is an upper crease brush, JH35. JH35 and JH33. Universal blending, upper crease. They don't look so different except that the upper crease is slightly longer. Now, I hope we can keep track of that information mentally once we remove them from their little condoms. But do you see what I'm saying? It's just kind of sus. Where you been? What you been doing? Who you been doing it with? Oh, now I should screw up my sleep schedule. You know, it's like I barely have recovered today. I felt so exhausted since Thursday. Just because, you know, we end up going here and there. It was really hot this week. Double belt. A little bit of drama. Always gossip and innuendo, which is great. But, you know, you get through it. Other stresses. And then, you know, you need to kind of rest, relax, enjoy life. Then someone's kind of asking you to you know, get dressed up and be in a leisure mind to go out on a Sunday. It's like, I could talk to you on the phone. If you just want to be my chum, I could, you know, see you when I see you at work, right? Like, all due respect, but the rhythm of going on a date has been lost. And then there's more questions than answers. Like, you go on vacation, what? Did you fly to the moon? You can't be in touch? Like, it's fine. But, you know, now I'm being asked to go through changes when that time has come and gone. In any case, we have a couple of MAC products. Now, I had a conversation with a young white woman in, I believe it was Ulta. She was telling me that I should not be using MAC products that are less than the numbers 44 and 45. Now, this is NC42, right? 42. It's paler than she suggested. This is NW, right? This is for cool tone skins. The W or the C is the opposite of what we think it means. This is 45 for someone who is a cool toned complexion. I don't know that this woman got my color match fine, but this is Studio Fix Powder Plus Foundation. I think I could use this as either a bronzer, definitely not a powder, you know, just, that's what I think. But we'll see what her theories about MAC color adds up to, because, you know, we have to use the information we're given, but not be foolish enough just to believe everything we're told, because sometimes people aren't invested in our beauty. You know, I have to say, there's been, you know, some behavior at work. I was telling Cooper that indicates that some people are not happy if you look too cute for their taste. They don't like it. I'm doing candy reviews, so I've got some mini Swedish fish for my next post. But I figured I would get on this MAC Studio Fix Fluid SPF 15 NC42, but perhaps under it, as I dig through the pile of candy, I got such interesting candy from King Diamond, Big Cherry. Ever heard of this candy? Fascinating. I wonder if I could underpaint with something of a glowy base, right? here we have the Anastasia of Beverly Hills Luminous Foundation, right? It's a shiny package. And it is in the shade 305N, right? Underpainting in a neutral, right? So to take something like this, shaky shake, and then get it onto the highlight places of our face. Dare we use a finger? Dare we use a brush? Let's see. What kind of implement can we use to get this on our face? And then that way the luminosity can jump through, I believe, a more matte base to be achieved by this MAC product. I can't remember offhand. I think this is either a matte or a radiant finish. I'm not sure which. But, you know, so again, I would love to get your feedback on whether this person, I believe this person has timed themselves out of any kind of like dating or continued the conversation that we started having with the same energy, just because there were so many mysterious incidents and yes, disappearances. Like, what? Here we have a squishy sponge, silicone, our favorite. Won't absorb product. We can get it in our dish and see what we're working with. See if the tones and the colors are right. We went in with this extra light foundation. But we can bring it back to earth and then use our Lip Bar palette of powder products to kind of sculpt and enhance whatever we do. So shaky shake, luminous foundation. I myself don't really care for a full face of luminous. I see one of my colleagues at work always has luminous and powder highlight, and you know, even if we're not playing cops, it just seems like a lot. It seems super clockable on the face. In a nightclub scene, sure, but on a daily basis, it just seems like a hell of a lot to kind of put on your skin and have, you know, people looking at you. Magnifying side? Not magnifying. I think I prefer the non-magnifying side, but just to put it where the highlighter might go. Dot that on. See what we're doing, right? Above the arch of the brow. On the Cupid's bow. Ooh, too much. Maybe on the chin. Maybe down the nose. Maybe here on the brow bone. Oh no, I got it on my brow. No, Cooper. But yeah. Just think, you know, maybe homeboy has a little bit too much going on, you know, and I don't think it's cool to let people, you know, sort of put you aside and then, you know, think that it's all good. You're just gonna, you know, I don't know. I feel like enthusiasm wanes, and obviously he had something else more important to do. Look at me, I'm going to use a beauty sponge. Somewhat to absorb this, somewhat to tap it in. Just using the point to tap it in, right? What does N, neutral, look like on my skin? I tend to think of myself as being warm complected, but I don't hate the way this looks. And I don't hate the luminosity, right? Trying to keep with the point of the sponge, keep the product where we placed it, that brow bone area, tapping it above the arch of the brow. Other side, right? Not wanting to get it everywhere, but trying to be strategic with it. Bounce it up and down that nose highlight, right? But that super bold, luminous foundation look, at least so far, is not for me. You know, I like this person very much, but I do find myself in the field looking at people's makeup choices and wondering, you know, another thing that goes on in the context of people asking you out or talking about, you know, their aggressive online dating habits, right? Which is a terrifying thing, right? Anyone who's done any kind of online dating or hookup app, there's so much fraudulence, there's so much you know, people who don't actually want any kind of actual relationship, women and men. I know people who I used to work with at Nickelodeon who were very much wanting to, quote, get their money's worth out of being on Match.com. It's not like they wanted to find someone, they wanted to date a lot. And that's fine. I just think you're often at cross purposes with people. So now that that's tapped in, I used more than I wanted. And look, one pump in the dish, it's still a ton of product left. But I just wanted that luminosity, right? I could take some of it, drag it down onto the neck, just so that the product doesn't go to waste and that we're getting a good, you know, organic blend across, maybe some on the ear, just so that, you know, line of demarcation isn't screaming, oh my God, here's where the makeup ends, right? You never want that. And you always want to, you know, given how expensive makeup is, you don't want to waste it, but you want to practice with it. Practice before the rubber hits the road, because in a lot of circumstances, as I say, we are stuck either doing it ourselves or doing it better ourselves, right? I know a lot of guys and girls who love getting their makeup, so rude, love getting their makeup done on set. And for me, you know, just given how my skin reacts to, I don't know if it's just not the cleanest brushes, I don't know if it's just, you know, nerves, but I'll often end up with blemishes, whereas I never do when I do my own makeup. I don't know if it's expired product. I try not to think that much about it, but I have heard women that I've stood in for on different shows complain about products that makeup department uses on them not being, I'll say, good to their skin, whether that's expired or dirty or, you know, I don't know. I've never really had the problems that some of my friends talk about, men and women, but it's definitely because, you know, our faces are important to our work. We don't want to get compromised, right? So how's that looking, right? Blended down the neck. I'm wearing this Kevin Hart show t-shirt, Mitch's Real Husbands of Hollywood. You know, it got a little chilly here in LA today. It was like 70 degrees where it was like 90 this week. So not too much luminosity, right? Over the underpainting of that concealer, still a little bit left in the dish. Getting that into our sponge, right? Going over any areas that might be too bright from concealer. Trying to create a seamless blend. And again, I always feel that the beauty sponge, it does tap things out, but it also absorbs product, as you can tell when you actually wash your implements. I think it absorbs more product than brushes. So if this is where we are with our 305N Luminous Foundation from Anastasia of Beverly Hills. I heard someone on TikTok talking about how full coverage the Dip Brow and some other products were just a few years ago, when people were doing that very Instagram heavy brow, full coverage base, and, you know, kind of clowning those aesthetics. Well, things do change, right? From here, right, especially in the center of the face, if there's too much luminosity here in the center, if we felt like the tone was wrong, right? To me, this looks fine, right? We did not put on any blurring product or primer, but out of curiosity, we can get a couple of drops of this somewhat paler but right undertone shade of MAC Studio Fix Fluid, just to see, will this blend? Is it way off the mark? This has no kind of applicator, so you really are always in the position of having to almost use too much product just to get it out of the bottle. Let's see if we can be careful and just kiss it. So dotting this on the face where we might want to take out luminosity, seeing if we're going to get a good blend. Dotting it on the face, thinking about pale areas as opposed to where contour will live. But for this, we're really just trying to take out, add a layer, right? A light layer of this. We're really just trying to take out, add a layer, right? A light layer of foundation. See what the color blend looks like, right? Tap it into the skin and see if we're gonna get a finish that we like. Maybe not too matte, but not as luminous as Miss Anastasia had us looking. What do you think? I think I look healthy and radiant. I think this color is a good color for me, and I'll look at it in different light. Not too much in the eye area. We don't want to lead to creasing, but this is really a color check. I don't really feel like we need as full coverage as this foundation would probably let us have. It has a tacky feel. It feels like it's going to dry down and probably would need a little powder, but we know the color of, is it powder or powder foundation? This is Studio Fix powder plus foundation, so I guess you can use it for both. But I also have another color, powder foundation in the color Light from e.l.f. Camo, so we can try that first. A lot of people say set your makeup, especially under the eye, with loose powder, then shift to a powder foundation or a pressed powder, that it gives you the smoothest finish. Cooper, what do you think? I don't hate it. It definitely looks more smooth and kind of not skin-like, because it's taken out any kind of variation and imperfection in my skin. I don't dislike that. I'm just making a note because it will make you look made up, right? We also have this, I was excited to get my hands on this, the Wet n Wild Mega Glow Illuminating Palette Eclairage in Catwalk Pink. I'd seen the very dastardly Bethany Frankel talk about this palette as a comparable product to a Charlotte Tilbury palette. Now this was when Bethany was on TikTok trying to be relatable to us pores before she went attacking poor Meghan Markle, right? I have to confess, I do think the jealousy and hatred are real, because there's no reason for Bethany Frankel, a woman, to make some joke about a wet dream with reference to, you know, Meghan Markle. That's just utterly tasteless and inappropriate. She's a mom. It's not very ladylike, nor was it funny. It sounds like the kind of joke she would have heard from a, you know, a fellow racist, probably a hedge fund trader or someone like that. Someone smug and privileged who just, you know, wants to demean Meghan Markle for making moves, right? The kind of moves that probably Bethany wanted to make but couldn't, can't, hating, right? And I feel like I relate to it because I feel like I get a little bit of that in my own work, you know, that there are, continue to be, you know, women who are not of color who feel like they should be the hottest chick in the room. They should be the only people able to garner the kind of like respect and attention from the opposite sex and the same sex, because in their minds they think that they are it. Whereas the people who are looking and making those decisions about who is it, their opinion is different, and it stresses people out, you know, like this is not the idea that they grew up with, that there's more, there's a broader set of aesthetics than their own. But oh, there's chocolate on the makeup table. I know that's my fault, but what can I do? It must have come out of the little package for the Google cluster. This was delicious. It just, because pecan is not as much of a counterpoint to sweetness and nougat and caramel as peanut is in the Snickers bar. This was a bit sweeter. You know, I think it would be good with coffee, a blended coffee drink, an iced coffee, but it is that syrupy sweet American candy taste that we all know about. I'll be getting into this Kinder Joy, which I think is not an American, made in Poland. But I feel like European candy can be less sweet than American candy. In any case, from here, are we looking to powder or are we looking to get into some kind of eyeshadow? We got some really, you know, regular palettes and we got some exotic palettes. This is a regular one. This one is Morphe Icy Fantasy. That sounds exciting, doesn't it, Coops? And this is what it's looking like. It's evoking the palette that I have not gotten my hands on from BH Cosmetics and Doja Cat in terms of being a bit pale, a bit on the cool side. This might be a better palette to work with during the day, but Icy Fantasy, it's looking very cute. Here is a Blink palette. Now, when I went to the new Sephora in Burbank, they had this brand. So imagine my surprise when I saw it at Marshall's for a mere $10, right? What is the MSRP? Let's see if we can do a little fingernail research and see what the original price is. Yes, $22, right? This is definitely a more affordable palette, and I believe there's a gentleman, it's Blink, BLINC.com, that was on the display. But interesting box with this sort of beveled edge, and interesting color story. It says The Rare Gem is the name of the palette. The Rare Gem is a perfectly compact eyeshadow palette with 12 beautiful gemstone-inspired shades that include buttery smooth mattes, gorgeous pearls, and shimmering metallics. All shades are highly pigmented, comfortable to wear, and blend out like a dream to create an endless number of looks complementing you no matter what the occasion. A staple daily palette. You will use every shadow, you will use every single shadow as they pair well with other colors and even more unconventional shades. And it has the same language in French, and I literally couldn't resist. You know how things are in the discount area in Marshalls? Look at this. Look at this, fantastic. The packaging, just, you pull this out, even without being Gucci or some big name palette, there's a little bit of damage to the Golden Obsidian shade, but I couldn't leave this little gem behind. It has a beautiful full-size mirror. Look at that. 2 dimensions of Tanya. Look at that. Oh my goodness. What a quality item. And I do find it educational to put my hands on different products, right? And to see just how they feel. What does a quality component look like? You know, I was able to kind of put my hands on some Jeffree Star palettes in Nordstrom Rack, and I was surprised at how the aesthetics didn't live up to the hype. I'll put it like that. So, you know, to kind of separate the hype from what feels like quality in the hand, right? So from here, just looking at what our mattes are and what our shimmers are, and thinking about doing a basic eye, right? Planning to use some kind of shimmer in the inner corner, trying to go, let's just work with our Jaclyn Hill brushes if we can, right? This one, which is the upper crease brush. I was watching he's a young makeup artist on TikTok, and he was just saying, just draw a line above your natural crease. And I think that makes a lot of sense, even as a building block for, you know, some of the more intricate drag makeup. But just using this brush and just tapping this kind of like transition shade all over our lid to kind of powder our different complexion products and set them and hopefully give us a nice smooth base for blending. But in any case, you know, we always want to give a credible, on-the-go makeup look. And I get very excited when I see rather, you know, sort of boring looking, everyday looking palettes, and then you kind of get them on your eye, and it's that wonderful nude neutral thing that can look very flattering and very demure in the field, right? Instability, I apologize for it, but the minute count is not failing, so we're not utterly getting kicked off. But, you know, I don't tend to favor a lot of eyeshadow under the eye. I see a lot of people building smoky looks and a lot of Asian makeup kind of using shadow under the eye to kind of emphasize the fat under the eye, right? But I'm not against, some people are saying because shadows are meant not to crease, that using pale shades under the eye to set your under eye concealer is an option. So just trying that out. Shade name, no idea. But I do like how smoothly this goes on and how it does give you that kind of innocent base. So if we take the same brush, right? What's the next palest shade? Is it Tiger's Eye? That was Howlite, Howlite. There's Tiger's Eye, and then there's Pink Topaz. I guess Pink Topaz would be the next palest shade, but maybe we should rock with Tiger's Eye just to give us an outer corner depth. Getting that on the tip of our brush, looking into this fantastic little mirror. Let's try to keep it discreetly on the lid itself. All right, and then we'll have to open our hooded eye just to get it above that crease, and then also have it reach out toward the tail of our brow. Kiss it back toward the last lash line. And there's a school of thought that says windshield wiper. I feel like for my eyes, tapping works better and then blending after the fact. But I'll keep working with it. I certainly see both techniques employed so that you're getting depth where you want it. You're emphasizing the architecture of the eye the way you want. You're kind of thinking about that little pad of fat on top of what we call the occipital bone. You know, some of my friends who live in West Hollywood are dealing with a great deal of street crime, right? You have Hollywood scammer hat wearers who, you know, they kind of stereotype people. Oh, you live in a certain neighborhood and you dress a certain way. You could be a thrift shopper. You could be, you know, working poor, but they decide that you're someone, you know, whose car needs to be broken into, or who can afford to, you know, lose. In this case, you know, the person had an accomplice filming from across the street as she attacked him. He's a, you know, a gay man and quite a kind and gentle soul, but, you know, he's walking his neighbor's dog and got his occipital bone broken. Could have lost an eye. You know, like, things are out of control in a lot of different areas. It's not just poverty or people who are unhoused. It is this spirit of addiction and, you know, this quite childlike attitude that everyone else is there to serve and support those choices. You know, I'm not sniffing meth or, you know, going drinking every night. I don't feel like I can afford to do those things. Not time-wise, not health-wise, not who has the time to be out of their mind. How could I do this makeup live if I were high on meth? I might do some, you know, just from watching intervention, I might not do the best makeup if I were using that. But isn't this a nice, subtle eyeshadow, right? When I'm rushing and checking out palettes on my way to the gym, I usually just take a brush and splay the bristles here at the corner of the eye and build out kind of a subtle little cat eye that extends up toward the end of the brow, right? Gets right under that fold of the lid crease and lifts. Right under that fold and lifts. And I really have to say again, I appreciate practicing my makeup on the regular here with you on YouTube, because it does create for me, just squeezing our brush, taking it under the lid, creates kind of a living record for me of, all my struggles with contour, all my struggles with shadow, and kind of having a tendency to be heavy-handed and not have a clear idea of the shadow map that I was trying to build. Here's a tiny little unknown brush. I've held on to a lot of the things that I started doing makeup for camera with. Just looking at our palette, Opal Light, it seems to be the palest shimmer shade. It's this one right here. I don't know if you can read it on camera with this filter as well, but it's taking our brush, getting it on there, and then tapping it across the inner lid just to bring light into that area, extending it the most at the top, and then making sure we saturate the inner part of the lid. Voila. Other side. The difference between the light reflecting here and the light not reflecting here yet is pretty stark, and it is noticeable. I have to confess, the power of the camera and just hearing all the camera people talking about swapping lenses and to kind of see the scene in real life and then also see the scene on the monitor and see the lighting on the monitor. It can be so exciting because it's not reality, it's an enhanced reality. It's different than when you shoot something on your iPhone camera, right? Swapping the lenses really does let you have a real kind of storytelling control over what the scene looks like, whether the scene looks like fantasy, whether the scene looks like it can just be so good and so exciting. So getting back into Tiger's Eye, just a tiny little bit, just to blend the shimmer with the matte. Just blending those edges together so that it's like the wing of a bird, right? Those of us with Native American heritage, sometimes we are inspired by not only our intuition and the thought of our ancestors, but by the aesthetics of nature, colors that are inspired by nature, and sort of enhancing natural beauty. I struggle with what to think about men and women that I know, and some of whom I work with, who really go very far with the plastic surgery. I don't know. Unless something's wrong, I don't know. I just don't know. Putting your health at risk. Now that like BBLs are out of fashion, can you imagine having invested all that time and energy into getting the BBL and now it's out of fashion? My God, that can't be a nice thing to, confront in your personal aesthetics, because I feel like, people in the West, we like following trends. We like at least being fluent enough to another stray piece of chocolate. Fluent enough to make strong choices, whether we want to look that way or we don't, but that has to be like a $5,000 to $10,000 or $15,000 investment. And then to have the aesthetic kind of like snatched away from you unexpectedly, I just don't know what people must think of that. So we could go heavier handed with this palette. There are some darker colors. Maybe we'll find a sharp ended brush and try to do a liner. Right here is that very cheap Vivace brand from the dollar store, right? But using our technique, right? Using this marvelous mirror in this palette. Sharp edge, right? The darkest color is Orgonite right here. Let's see what we can do. You know, what do? Do you do what the Kardashians do and just get it removed? Stamping this along the lash line. Technically, we should have put on a pencil first, but it's not that deep. But then also just taking this, looking at our eye open, thinking about the angle, where our crease ends, and then stamping a little wing. Not a huge wing, just a little bit of wing to mean something. And the little wing is especially helpful when you're playing law enforcement because it gives you just enough to extend the eye, just enough to augment the lash line, right? You could add mascara. Sometimes you're doing your makeup in stages because you have to do this, or you need it on set, or, you know, maybe you're not really seen, but you have to like manage to get your snacks and get your COVID test and all these things. But see the difference between this eye with just a very subtle stamping along the lash line, not even tight lined, but very close to the lash line, just to give you a little bit more depth and a little bit more kind of a stronger upper lid, a little bit of an extension to the inner and outer corner of the eye. Right? Just enough, right? It's sexual dimorphism for anyone who wants to present female or as a woman or etc. It's enough to make you not look plain, right? You're not just a plain old naked eye. You are a feminized eye achieved just by adding a little neutral color. Not bright enough to seem like a lot of makeup or too much makeup, but enough makeup to make you look slightly different, slightly more, slightly enhanced, slightly female, right? Using highlighter and contour to emphasize the smallness of your face as opposed to the broadness of a male face, right? It's like when you see people who've transitioned their gender later in life, right? Their bone structure might say one thing, but their makeup can say another, right? Their, you know, either hormonally or surgically enhanced breasts might say one thing, but their shoulders might say another, right? There's nothing wrong with any of these aesthetics. Some women have broad shoulders. Just using what we have left of this Orgonite color in our brush to enhance and extend the brow, right? It's not just brow powders that can be used to extend our brow so that it's giving us the length, and that way the tail end of our wing can kind of point to the tail end of our brow. I would love it if my brows were actually this extended, but sometimes hair-like strokes with a powder can read a little bit more believable, right? A few more strokes above the arch to give us that Joan Crawford sharp brow, right? Just a little bit, so that it takes us from plain Jane to enhanced and lengthened brow, right? Just these little subtle things. If I just laminate and lift my brows at work, people can't necessarily say what it is that I've done. I know what I did. And it makes a difference in how, just how, I guess, finished I look, right? Sometimes all that waxy brow pencil looks very clockable, especially in daylight. But pencil, especially if it's paler than the color of your brow hairs, depending on your complexion and your hair color, that can be just enough, right? Not some super long clockable mascara all the time, but emphasize the eye by just lifting and stylizing and brushing out your brows, extending it at the tail. It's very powerful. And I've been lucky enough to kind of see people do it to me and do it for me. And it's not, it's not the kind of thing that is so obvious and so known. Like, what did you do? You did something. You just put a little line here and a little line there and just brush some brown into your lash line, only on the top. Just that is enough to make you look, made up. Now, there are other people who are talking, this is what I'm excited about. Instead of putting shimmer on the inner corner, just going in with a bright color like that one that we set our lids with, just that. And letting the brightness of just the matte pale shadow speak for your lids and speak and do something that's stylized, right? There's nothing wrong with the natural you. All we're saying is that, if you really want to turn heads and not look regular, but just look like you made a little effort, like as if you're going on a date with this person who asked you out on Saturday night. What about the Saturday night date? Did you just decide today randomly that you wanted to go out with me, or is this not even a date? Are you just interested in gossip and tea from work? What's the deal? I'll never know. Obviously, I'm not going. I barely get time off, and I'm not trying to spend it with someone who knows what's going on. Just, wow. I'm flattered by, the attention, but I'm not convinced. So, getting back into our lip bar palette, right? If we've done a number on our eyes and our brows, we've done our complexion. What can this palette do for us from here, right? What are the brushes that we can use to get the most out of this palette? I think we just used like a powder brush before, and in our, this is an ancient LA Girl travel brush something or another, right? We have a series of different brushes. We don't want something that's too big for the job, although I do see people who are trained makeup artists working with very huge brushes. So, face is Young Stunna, right? That's this shade. Now, this looks a little bit darker than our complexion product. If this is complexion and that's contour, I think that we can think of this like a bronzer, right? This is the palest shade of this palette that I got. Sorry, I'm thinking about television. So if I take this random, not super dense brush, it might have some blush on it. What can I use to take that off? I'll just try to scrub that away. So at least it's not paying off. But I do like, just see that stroke of shimmer right here, right? It's taken my face from just a natural, like, just got out of bed look, little subtle, tiny little lines, not anything crazy, is enough to take it to just the next level, a little something. It's like when you just put a little bit of pomade or gel in your hair, right? Because I was working on set, I kind of started just using this as if it's bronzer, right? I started really appreciating the idea of how you can have your face look finished as a bronzer, right? In the 3 shape here at the temple, right? They say put color back into the face. 1, 2, 3 along the jaw, using that color to shrink away part of the jawline to make it look more in shadow. And of course we can go in with contour and do a little bit more, right? Blending it in toward the center of the forehead. I don't have the biggest forehead, I don't have the smallest forehead, but you want some narrative unity when it comes to building your face from a natural face to a finished face and seeing what this lip bar palette has to give, right? You want to see what it's giving, so when you're on your way out the door, maybe you changed your mind about going on this date, but you know, I think we also have to be careful when we're dealing with characters that we met at work. Not someone we work with, but someone who works with work. I know that's super vague, but you know, if it's not going to be anything, then we don't have to give it more energy when we could spend our energy working on our makeup. Working on that play of luminous versus matte versus radiant. Working on our technique. Not the densest brush, not the highest quality brush. Seeing what it's giving. So from here, contour, right? It's this deepest shade. Same brush. Stroke it in there and see if we can amp up the way that we've contoured our face, right? Maybe not taking up all the real estate that we took up with the first color, but trying to create like a gradient, right? Looking at that cheek. Contour. Not trying to obliterate what we laid down with bronzer. It's really a complexion, but for me, it kind of looks more like bronzer without being super orange. Bronze, contour, bronze only. See the difference? Same contour color along the bottom of the jawline. Shrink that face. Tiny feminine face. Get that contour under that double chin. All this candy eating is not helping the double chin go away. But thankfully, makeup can be an effective way to sharpen up that jaw, right? The theory being, take it all the way under the jaw, across the ear, and under the cheekbone, right? There's a perfect point dropping down from the tail end of the brow, right? Where you could poke through and meet your teeth right here. This is called the Kate Moss contour. So contouring under the cheekbone and then taking it down to kind of enhance that natural place that the face gets indented when you use the muscles of your face, right? You can see it more clearly over here and over here. Now, I'm not saying that contour is going to make you look skinny. I'm saying that contour is going to help you make your face look made up, right? Just using a subtler hand than you did with the bronzer. And I think that it's so interesting when you see Black-owned brands using tones that none of this is making me look orange for a change. And I'm not saying that I know every makeup brand, but what I'm saying is, like, whether it's lip color or bronzer or contour, there's a reason to dabble in black owned brands. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with anything else, but from my experiments, there's something about the color choices and the color palette that is very worthwhile. Now, if we take our eyeshadow brush from before, I was tempted to add another color from that palette, but I was like, no, let this live. But if we use this brush again and get it into this contour shade, right? For color unity, just on the tip, right? We think about where that outer V is, right? Eye open, enhancing that outer V. Not trying to ruin our liner, but just getting a little bit more depth going. Right? As bright as that inner corner is, maybe that part right there can just have a little bit more cat-like oomph. You know, we're developing taste. When is it enough eyeshadow, right? There's some single eyeshadow looks out there. There's some smoky eye looks out there. What is it that we want to do? If we're dining with someone, what is it that we're trying to say with our makeup? What kind of lift and sculpting are we trying to achieve? Symmetry, right? Taking our brush for our liner, I'm just trying to extend it a little bit for a nice little flick. Not too much, but enough that it's visible, right? I got my makeup done by Glammed by Iggy. What was interesting is he followed my lash line and made more of a downward wing than I always thought the wing had to go up at some angle that wasn't exactly living in harmony with the hood of my eye, right? There's nothing wrong with having hooded eyes, but when he did my makeup that way, and it's my picture on WhatsApp, it just looked suitable for my face. Nothing was wrong with what was done before, but it just was like a revelation that, oh, you can do it that way. You can do it that way and it can look great. You don't have to fight your natural hair texture. You don't have to fight your natural skin color. You just have to hunt around for products that are going to do you and your face justice. Getting into this blush shade, right? Technically, yes, you should put a cream blush on and then powder it with the powder product. But really, we're trying to test this palette. So looking into our mirror, the high point of the cheek, right? We're learning to wear a lot of blush, more blush than I would have worn in the natural, just because I'm getting a lot more experience with how much of it needs to be on my cheeks in order for it to show, especially from the front, right? Law enforcement, you can't wear a ton, but you kind of see the subtlety, but the fullness of the wash that they put on main cast, right? In colors that look natural, right? That it could be the kind of flush you would get from running, right? We could take the same brush and just run it through our eyeshadow for color unity and to get an even finer blend through the eye socket, right? There's a school of thought, the Wayne Goss school, which is like take a kabuki brush and blend all over your makeup, right? All over and through so everything looks of a piece. I'm not quite there yet, but I'm not unhappy with how this makeup is looking. I think it's time for a lip. But, you know, if you can get your hands on these Lip Bar palettes, flattering, right? truly, there is a texture variation in this little palette that is valuable. There's, I think, 6 or 7 shades of it. I got 3. And I'll be experimenting with them, getting progressively darker. This isn't the palest one. It might be the second to palest one, but I have one of the 2 darkest and then another one in the middle. I took this to work the other day, but then I left it in the car, so I wasn't able to use it at work. You know, highlighter shade is so icy. Maybe before we're completely done, you should get the highlighter on. I'm not the biggest highlighter girl, but one of my colleagues wears shimmer, not shimmer, what is it? Luminous foundation and shimmer that you can see on her face like a stripe. Right now, I'm happy with this bronzer contour blush placement because I think it marries well with my bone structure. You can see it more clearly in the shadows on this side of my face. And the jaw enhancement looks bomb, in my opinion. Now, if we take the same brush, stroke it into this highlighter, maybe squeeze the brush so that we're discreet. Using it in a very discreet but powerful way. There's no mirror in this cheap palette. That's all right. We have a mirror, right? So on this side, right? High point of the cheek. Making that cheekbone pop. See? Right? Above the arch of the brow, under the arch of the brow, so that when you turn your head, there's even more excitement. Right? A jagged tipped brush, not too dense, so you're not putting a perfect circle of product anywhere, but it's got that kind of uneven application that might suggest, you know, just some subtlety. Carefully on the tip of the nose, whatever's left, Cupid's bow, chin, so that when you spin in your chair, you spin on a zoom, someone's like, wow, she looks great. Out to dinner, the glow is there. The glow that enhances your beauty, right? Not all over the place, but strategically placed so that when you get your lip on, it's on and popping. Think of your haters. Think of the people looking at you and hoping that you look like a fool. That you come to work or you're on camera looking like a thumb, like you don't love yourself, like you don't care, that you don't know what you're doing. That's not going to happen. Practice does make perfect. And digging into products that can give you different levels of payoff and value, you're never going to regret being better at your makeup than you were, right? You're never going to regret having investigated options for makeup, having, you know, brushes of different kinds and sizes so you can get just the right look going. Ooh, MAC Fix Plus. Was thinking about this. I just feel like when I spray it on my face, Skin Refresher Finishing Mist, it tends to put droplet marks on my complexion. To figure out either a better applicator or if it's bouncing a sponge over it with the stuff on it. I have some brushes to wash, but we have this Marc Jacobs Brow Wow Duo. We used this on a different occasion. Maybe we'll get into that tomorrow. But right now we've got some lip liners. This is a lip liner crayon from Jaclyn Hill in the shade Unwrap Me, which is kind of a bright red. Then we have Kiss New York Rose Petal. This is more of a kind of mauvey pink. And then we have a NYX Professional Makeup Soft Spoken, which seems more like a berry. I wonder if I have any liner that's just not quite so pinky, red, obvious. We have some liners, we have some mascara, we have this oldie but goodie Iman Pan Concealer, which is actually great body makeup. Spray a little hairspray over that if you have any mosquito bites or other injuries. You know, whatever we can do to get ourselves looking right for camera. Our quest for a good lip liner is not yet successful. Uh-oh. We got all these really cute copper desk accessories from the dollar store, you know? Just trying to make your space inviting, trying to make your makeup journey have like cute implements, things that are the right products and the right things that you need. Oh, look, I have another one of these sponges. I really find it very hard to find these silicone sponges these days. But we've got more brushes. We've got some liquid liner. This packaging, I can't even tell you what the brand is because all of the writing on the package has, I mean, and I didn't even really do that much with this. I think it's LA Colors. It might be from Daiso. All the writing is gone. Here's a palette we've never used. It's a L'Oreal palette that makes me think of Dior and Charlotte Tilbury in terms of being very, very pale and very shimmery. But maybe this color is going to be that inner corner brightness without being shimmer that we were talking about earlier. But, you know, the more fluent you get with your makeup kits, the more easy it will be for you to put together just the right combination. You know, if you're working and really putting in your SAG days, really getting it done, you don't necessarily always have all the time in the world to organize and explore. Here's a brow cream from LA Colors that we haven't tried yet, and an eyeshadow in the shade Canela, which is cinnamon, from this Rosas Jóvenes brand. A couple of kind of spring-like palettes from LA Colors that we can get into. You know, sometimes you have to do a wedding scene. Sometimes you are, you know, there's just any number of feels that you're going for. So we have a bunch of Mented lipsticks, right? Maybe we'll pull, if not the darkest, then the palest shade, which is Brand Nude. We're going to be rogue and just go in with it raw. No lip liner. I think you can pretty clearly see where my lips begin and end. But just getting this straight from the bullet onto our lips. See if it balances out this very subtle but beautiful makeup. Here we go. Do you see that? Enhanced, not dark. Definitely brown, not orange, not rust, not coral, not pink, right? Law enforcement makeup. Enhanced, subtle. A red lip is too sexy. Some of these nudes make you look casket ready. This is such a sophisticated color. I highly recommend Mented. If you can get this on the internet, at Target, you're not going to be mad. Now, this highlighter is looking distracting on top of my blush. I kind of liked the blush look before better. Now, should I use a beauty sponge to remove some of it, or should I just get used to it? Right? It's that kind of liquid, kind of looking kind of like metal, metallic shininess on the skin that is not, it's a little too much for me. So just using our beauty sponge that has some foundation in it just to take some of this off so it's not screaming at the top of its lungs. I don't want to look like a try-hard. I want to look enhanced. What do you think? Right? I had a suit on, if I was in the FBI like Niecy Nash, right? Maybe less shimmer, but let's try that tomorrow. The inner corner brightness can be achieved without shimmer. That's more of a nighttime look. But I think that the map of our product placement and not only the cohesion, but the, what is the word? The flattering accuracy of these products. You know, I didn't hate, there were some signature celebrity lipsticks from L'Oreal, I believe. It was like Blake Lively, Eva Longoria, J.Lo that I got my hands on that were quite nice, but they weren't this. They were nudes, but they were more in the pink kind of, you know, traditional makeup color story look. But I feel like when you go to black brands, even if you're not a black person, you're going to get a sophisticated color story that is not going to play you when you're at work, right? You don't want to just have like pink and purple and all the crazy color stories that a Jeffree Star would give you. Yes, you can go there on occasion for a wedding or something like that, but if you're gonna spend top dollar, if you want something that's gonna say high end, then I think that you're trying to go either black brand or, you know, some of these Too Faced palettes that we were able to get our hands on that are, I hate to say basic, but I'll say it like this, trustworthy, right? When you get into something that's a blend of, if I can open it, of mattes and shimmers, right? Look at that. This palette's not gonna do you wrong. It says it smells like something. What does it say it smells like? Coconut butter or chocolate? Flaunt your natural side with the revamp of our iconic natural eyes. Natural eyes, right? The beloved palette has been updated with our exclusive coconut butter infused formula for creamier, more comfortable wear. Achieve endless, naturally sexy looks with our 9 matte, satin, and shimmer shadows, right? Matte, satin, shimmer shadows. And that is, I think that's going to be our experiment for tomorrow. Because sometimes I do want to grab this palette and take it with me, but I haven't gotten into it yet. I don't want to do too much and have it go wrong. But, you know, something like a visitor to a hospital, something like a, a diner, or someone, working in a business office park, this palette might be able to do the right thing, just like Spike Lee's old movie. In any case, it is Halloween season. I was thrifting and I ran across this particular item, and this is what we're talking about, like the comfort that people have with portraying people's culture as a costume, as a character, as a joke. It wouldn't be done to other communities. So hopefully this kind of thing is a relic. It's a baseball piece of merch. I believe this is Kansas City Chiefs. It could be one of those other unfortunate teams, something or another. I think Atlanta Braves. And, but with this grin and these eyes, and what do you think? Am I reaching? But, I had to take this out of circulation, but this is America, people do what serves their interests, right? Until we make it clear that they can do better. But look at this wonderful lipstick. Look at this wonderful eyeshadow, right? The brow is enhanced. Could we use a mascara? Could we use a half lash? An individual lash or two? We're not ever doing eyelash extensions again, but have we placed our blush and contour products high enough and slenderly enough to enhance without getting muddy. You might be able to trim it down just a little bit more, right? Use a smaller brush and a more precise hand. Even on our eyeshadow, we didn't go wrong, but we could get it oh so much more right. And that's the lesson of being camera ready. You keep going, you keep experimenting, you keep doing it better, finding better products, better hydration, better primers, better finishing sprays, until you feel that what you've done has really made it just as good as it can be without being too much. But in any case, thank you for joining me, and I will see you next time here on House of Tanya. Thank you so much. Is my nose contour looking funny? Maybe it's just my lighting. I'll work on my lighting too. See you next time. Okay, bye.